Alright, so today I'm going to cook a tomato pork chop. Same again as per usual, nothing ready, nothing set up yet. Turn that on. So what I bought was vegetables. I bought some pork loin chops. People will tell you that the pork chop with the bone in it is better. Some herbs as well, and obviously tomatoes, puree and ketchup. People will tell you that the chop with the bone in it is better, but I think that this is easier to eat. It's easier to cook with, and we're not going to be cooking this for very long. These chops, so I think actually the ones without the bone they're just easier. They're just easier to cook with. You can chop them up. I think if you're cooking meat with on the bone for a long time, then that's good. That it benefits from having the bone in it. But this is going to be pretty quick, so I just don't think it really matters. We're going to be adding so much flavour with the other bits and pieces as well. Any extra flavour that comes from the bone is negligible, I think, in this particular recipe. I'm just going to cut through using a sharp knife. I'm going to cut right through the fat and through into the meat, and what that does is it keeps it just exactly the same as we did with the bacon. It keeps it nice and flat, stops it curling up, and it allows us to get nice even colour all the way around it. So it's going to get noisy. Just a bit of vegetable oil in a pan. We'll start that frying. Put salt on it. Bit of pepper. Fan on. So I'm going to do vegetables with a kind of tomato sauce for this one, and then this other one I'll do a Chinese. I'll do that differently. I'll do like a Chinese kind of style one with soy sauce and stuff. I've got a wee bit of mashed potatoes from when I cooked it a couple of days ago, and we'll just have that. Normally I would have this with rice, but I'll do the rice tomorrow. Mostly raw pork, you want to get your hands and get clean. This is this recipe is quite good in that you could basically eliminate the pork if you were a vegetarian Muslim. You don't really have to have the pork with this, because the vegetables on their own, fried up this way in this tomatoey type sauce, are really good anyway. So, but obviously you can't beat a bit of meat. So I've got some peppers, mushrooms, spring onions, but basically any vegetables would work in this. Any soft vegetables, courgettes, aubergines, that kind of thing would be really good. That'll be alright. That's why I don't buy non-stick pans, or why for a while I wasn't buying non-stick pans, because they just don't last very long. Nice colour. Mushrooms. Comes to mushrooms, you don't really need to wash them. I just tend to wipe, just kind of knock the bits of dirt off, because I think they soak up. They're already full of water, and if you wash them, they soak up more water. So just give them just knock the bits of dirt off them. chop these fairly, relatively quite big, because they will just, as they cook, the water will come out of them and they'll shrivel right up. Those ends off, a wee bit dry looking. Should wash them, but these look pretty good this time actually, they don't look too bad. There's a wee bit of dirt inside them, so. Yeah. I'll put this chop out now. Salt on the other side. So that's obviously not, it's not cooked obviously, but it'll get finished off. So, just going to throw these vegetables in. The thing is if I just have to watch that doesn't burn, because the meat has come off. There's some brown bits in there. What I tend to do is, rather than putting more oil into this, I actually quite like to just put water in. And it stops it burning, and I know you're not kind of properly frying it, but just feels a bit healthier, stops it burning, and actually it works quite nicely. It deglazes the bottom, it takes any meat, any wee burnt, any wee stuck bits of meat off the bottom. So I know that these are not technically being fried, but we'll cook them. We'll get rid of that water, and then that will just start it cooking in a slightly healthier way. Saves using more oil, because I'm going to eat that pork fat as well. Something I didn't used to do, but I actually really like it now. That's what I quite like to do, just as I'm using things, just put them away, as it just helps to keep the kitchen clean as you're working along. When it comes to garlic, you can, I think I've mentioned it before, so I could grate that on my microplane grater, and you would get the kind of the liquid coming out of the garlic, and that's really strong. And you could get away with probably just using one clove in this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use 2 cloves, and I'm just going to roughly chop it. So what that means is you don't quite get the strength of flavour, so you have to use a bit more to get some strength. But it's good for you. So it's a good thing to be eating more garlic. You want to eat as much as you can because it's good for you. But by chopping it kind of bigger like this, you don't get the kind of the strength of flavour as if you crushed it or grated it and get the liquid out of it. And also I'm going to put that in near the end, because I think that lightly cooked garlic, I think that if you to get the most nutrition out of garlic, you should eat it raw. So the less you cook it, the better it is for you. So I'm going to put that in near the end, so it's better for you, and you don't get quite so much strength of flavour out of it as if you pulp it. But it just means you eat more and it's good for you, if that makes any sense. ginger. Now they're starting back down to fry now. Chop that up. You can throw these in any time. Bit of chilli in it as well. There's no heat in this chilli at all. These are not. This particular one is not very hot. See, now we're back into frying mode. It's didn't chop that very well there. Call that. Didn't go through that very well. Just to sharpen this, I think. We're back down into frying mode again. Starting to get a wee bit of colour onto it now. So that wee technique there for the pan was really hot after doing the pork, and just put a wee touch of water in it and it cools it down, keeps you in control. And now we're back into frying mode where the water's disappeared. You can start to get a wee bit of colour and stuff now. So I will put the spring onions there. Back to these expensive packets. Just going to sit them like that just leave them like that because there's a bit of moisture in it. Just lets the moisture out, helps make it last longer. Okay, we're going to put a little bit more water in that now. And a wee bit more water. And tomato ketchup. Tomato puree. See, the heat has been on full whack the whole time. Good shot of tomato puree. And balsamic vinegar. Good jolt of that. And the fact that it's quite watery, it's not too watery actually. If it's too watery it doesn't matter because we're going to cook this for a wee bit. To cook the chop, because that still needs to be finished off. That's still quite raw in the middle, so that's quite thick actually. So tomato puree, tomato ketchup, balsamic, and then you've got a nice tomato sauce. This just on its own with just vegetables, lovely. It's a bit thick, so I'm going to kind of go a wee bit. I'm going to put a bit too much water in it basically, but that's okay because it will reduce down. We're just keeping the heat on full. See, now it's far too watery, it's a taste of nothing at the moment. But we'll put we shall put the tomatoes in it and the garlic. And then we'll put the chop in it. You could just drop the chop straight into it, drop the chop. You could just pop this straight in, but pour some of that resting juices off into it, don't want to waste that. But I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to chop it up. You can see it's you know, it's still raw inside. You wouldn't need to like this, but that in. And basically reduce that down once it's thick and reduced and the sauce is kind of nice and thick. That's done. I'll put a wee bit of salt, maybe a wee touch more salt in it. I should call that done. Mashed potatoes. Been lazy and not used a plastic. I should put this in a plastic container rather than leaving it in the pot, but it's called being a wee bit lazy, and it now means I've got one less thing to wash up. It's not very much mash, but it's okay, it's just a wee bit of lunch, so don't need a big portion. So you can see that while that's reducing down and just finishing off, you can be having a clear up to leave you, as I pretty much always try and do, which is finish up with a plate of food in a clean kitchen. With that, just that small amount, we'll just do it for 1 minute, it should be fine. Just getting there, it's looking really good. Good strength of flavour already, but it will just get better. Touch of pepper and salt in it. The only salt I put in was a wee bit of salt on the pork. Just put in another wee pinch of salt. Just basil and parsley. Could even do some of the drying up. So quite a good way to just take a pork chop and put, get quite a lot of vegetables into it as well. And like I say, you don't even need the chop. And that the vegetables alone, if you were just wanting vegetables without the meat. Tomato puree, tomato ketchup, balsamic. So it's a nice, it creates a really nice rich tomato sauce. You could put sugar in it as well if you wanted a bit more sweetness, but I'm trying to cut down on the sugar, so. I think I probably put a touch too much water in that. It's maybe overcooking a wee bit, but it's okay. Just gives me more time to clear up. Yeah, that's good now, I think. Yeah, maybe a wee bit too much water in it, but it's okay. It's quite a big portion, so almost like you almost get 2 portions out of that. I'm just going to dump the lot onto that, into one portion, but let go for a wee bit longer. Turn that off now. So that is pork chop, peppers, spring onions, mushrooms fried up in a sauce of tomatoes, fresh tomatoes, tomato puree, tomato ketchup, and balsamic vinegar, and basil and parsley at the end. So quite a good sized portion there. Same again, you know, we're not looking for anything nice. This is just a basic bowl of food. Really nice rich sauce. Could even reduce that a wee bit more, but it's fine. So and in fact you may as well just clean this up as well, because that's really hot. So and like I said before, if you just give these pans a quick wipe, as soon as you've finished cooking, there's no effort in cleaning them. It's really quick. So we'll call that done, I think. Tomato pork chop with mashed potatoes. Really good on rice. I would normally have this on rice, but I just happen to have that mash. So yeah, we'll call that done. Beef, chicken, prawns, or just more vegetables and no meat or anything at all. It would just work really well. The same. You could do exactly the same thing with all those things, and that tomato sauce works really well. It would work really well with any of those things. It's very good. What you can also do is you can put some spices in that. So while you're frying the meat and the vegetables up, you could put a wee bit of curry powder in it, a bit of turmeric, cumin, coriander, these kind of garam masala type things, and you can make almost like a wee sort of stir fry curry. So it's obviously not going to be a proper curry, but just gets that other wee dimension of flavour into it. But as a base, tomato puree, tomato ketchup, balsamic, really nice.